Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As y'all already know, it's your girl Rye. Well, some of you may know. If you're new, then welcome to my channel. Today I just wanted to come to y'all and talk about some of the changes that have been happening since the pandemic started, and then just like how nursing has been during a pandemic, especially being a new grad nurse. So it's kind of like all that I know is the chaos and the craziness. Not everything has been bad, of course. There has been good things to come out of it as well, but at first it really was a lot going on at once. So if knowing how nursing has been like during a pandemic is something that interests you, then hang on and we will be back with more information. I wrote down some quick little notes. It's not going to be anything formal. My thoughts are probably going to be a little scattered, but I'm going to keep it on track as much as I can. I just wanted to come up here and just let y'all know some of the things that have been going on behind the scenes. So when the pandemic first started, everybody was very confused. Like, we didn't know what was going on. We were just hearing bits and pieces about things from different sources. You know what I mean? It was just all over the place. When the pandemic first started, I was still in orientation. I'm just now hitting my 1 year mark as a nurse. So back then I was still in orientation, and I am a float nurse. So our orientation is already a little crazy, but it was even more crazy. Orientation was crazy because staffing was all over the place throughout throughout the pandemic. A lot of people have been calling out. A lot of people have been leaving work. A lot of people have just not been wanting to work. And then too, with that, it's like people that are pregnant or people that have serious medical conditions, they aren't allowed to be working with patients due to the risk that they have. So that already counts out a lot of people. Then you have to factor in all these travel nursing positions that are throwing out tons and tons of money for nurses to come and work for them. That's taking away our staff. And then two, people are getting sick. People are sometimes getting exposed to the virus and then they can't come to work. So it has been kind of short-staffed, periodically. I know the adult world has it way worse than we do in pediatrics, but that is still something that affects us every now and again. Also, once the pandemic started, new rules started going in place as like we have to get temperature screened every time we come into work. We have to like answer if we have symptoms or no symptoms, and then we go on about our way. So that's been good. I think it's good for us to make sure we're getting screened before we go into work, as well as our patients and visitors coming in. Our visitor restrictions is something else that has changed due to, just the spreading of everything. Now only parents are allowed to come in our hospital. Only mom and dad or either two primary caregivers are the only ones that are allowed to visit now. So that's been an adjustment. I would say that's one of the big things. Already in pediatric, that visitor restriction is already something that we do during flu season. During flu season, only parents are allowed to come, but that's usually just for a few months and then it's cleared. Now with the pandemic, now parents are the only two people that can come in and out. That sucks for people with more complex family dynamics. Let's say baby lives with mom and stepdad. Those are the two primary caregivers, but then obviously due to them being in the hospital, now dad might want to come into town and try to check on what's going on. Then we have to go to higher ups to kind of get that cleared, and that's a hassle within itself. Not to mention too, sometimes people have children and they can't, it's hard. Now you have to decide, am I going to be with my kid in the hospital, or I have to go take care of my kids. I have no babysitter. I have to be there. So I think that's been something that's been definitely affecting our families, and that has been very hard, and I can understand why. Now, a funny thing with our families is at the beginning now, these people, they were stealing PPE. I'm not even gonna lie. We had to start hiding like our gloves, our masks, our gowns. We had to start hiding things, keeping them locked up because parents and families were just taking it. And I can understand, like, you couldn't find these things out in public and then you're in a hospital, you just see an abundance everywhere. But then that puts us in a bad spot because then we can't protect ourselves in order to care for them. So that was one thing. Let me look down and see. Oh yeah, so at first, when the pandemic first started, we were required to wear just a simple face mask. Then, as time starts going by, then they're finding new studies and then they're saying like, oh, now it can be spread through your eyes. So it went from face masks to then we had to wear face mask and goggles at all times. That's not if you have a COVID room, that's if they're not COVID. Even if we're sitting out at the desk, we have to have those two things on. They don't want us like eating lunch together because obviously you'd have to take your mask off, and then us conversing and stuff, that would make more staff be out at one time if an exposure were to happen, if we're all sitting around having lunch. So that was an adjustment. It kind of like made us have to isolate a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, we still do interact with each other, but it's like now we can't even sit and talk to each other, you know, which I can understand why, but it's like, it's just one of those things that kind of sucks. Outside of that, when it comes to our patients that do come in, everybody is considered a PUI. What's a PUI, you may ask? That just means like patient under investigation. That means they're pending their COVID results. Anybody that comes in, they're PUI. We have to wear an N95, a face mask, goggles, and a gown every time you walk in the room, just to protect us and also to protect them. And then, so that's definitely been an adjustment because y'all, if y'all have ever been in these patients' rooms with those gowns on, you already know it's hot. Like, that's if you're not even doing anything, just to put it on and walk in, you're like, then if you actually have to be hands-on doing a lot of stuff, you are literally sweating, about to die by the time it's time to walk out. And I'd be wanting to spend way more time in there with my patients, but it's like I can't even breathe. Like, so that's another thing. One thing I will say too, with our staffing that has switched, pre-pandemic, there, especially within pediatrics, we have a lot of patients that require live sitters. Some of the types of patients that require live sitters would be like eating disorder patients or homicidal, suicidal patients, you know, disoriented patients, things like that. Those are the type of kids that need sitters. Pre-pandemic, only healthcare techs and PSAs were allowed to be sitters. Nurses never had to sit pre-pandemic. And y'all, this was one of the things that really bothered me because I was a healthcare tech in peds for the past 2 years before I even became an RN. So I have been used to sitting all the time. I was so over it. I was like, thank God I'm finally an RN. I finally don't have to do that anymore. But once the pandemic hit, that was their green light, you guys. That was their green light, because at first I guess they couldn't. And once that happened, that was their green light to be like, well, we have the staff. Why not use them? Yeah, they usually don't go there, but we have the staff and we have a need. Let's send them there. So they started making nurses sit all the time. And I was like, no, especially for a new grad nurse, we need that time on the floor. This is supposed to be when I learned the most. And you want me to go sit in a room and look at one person in their face and just look at them? I mean, obviously we sit there, we talk to them, we play games with them, but it's like, especially working night shift, by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, they're going to sleep. So I'm just gonna sit in the dark and hear them snore until 7 a.m. That's a joke, okay? Enough on that. That's just one of the things that changed that I did not like. Let me see what else. One of the things also too, when the pandemic started, a lot of people didn't have to go to work. A lot of people were able to stay at home. They were able to file for unemployment. Or if they had a job where they could transition at home, they were allowed to transition at home. Now, at the beginning, that was like, it wasn't hard because I understood like, well, my job, I don't have that same luxury, but it was an adjustment. Like all of, you know, your friends and stuff, they're all at home like, hey, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I still have to go to work every single day. Like I'm used to, like, we don't get time off. We don't get that break. I still have to show up to work. And I'm very happy that I was able to still have a job. I was very happy that I was able to be financially secure through that and not have to do unemployment or anything like that. So that was a blessing, but it was just like, dang, for a little bit. Sometimes you do be like, I wish I could stay home, but I have a job to do and I know that I'm needed where I'm needed. So it was totally fine. And with that too, sometimes my friends will be like, oh, do y'all get hazard pay? Like, are they giving y'all hazard pay? I freaking wish. Like, I freaking wish. I do feel like we deserve to be paid a little bit more, especially for us nurses that started at the beginning of this and we're still here, still devoting our, you know, full-time requirements. But no, we don't get hazard pay. And I would say with that too, it's probably the fact of like, we're not, we still have all of our PPE, we still have all of our resources that we usually have. So I wouldn't even say it's really a hazard. We are at increased risk, obviously, but I think that is kind of one of those things that just come with the job. if I were working in an environment where they didn't have proper PPE or resources for me to protect myself as a worker, then I would definitely demand to be paid more, because you know, you're putting your life at risk. But if I have an N95, I have a face mask, I have goggles, I have a gown, I have everything that I need to protect myself, I don't really feel as though I'm in a hazard. So, and I think too, just making sure to do hand washing, wiping down all of your phones and your keys and everything when you come in and out of the hospital, you know, taking a shower, all those basic things that you should have been doing already, just continue doing them. And I don't think that it's really too big of a hazard. Another thing is skincare. You guys, my skin, usually I don't have really bad issues with my skin. And from what I'm looking at right now, it looks, you know, perfectly fine. But wearing masks, I've never gotten acne so bad right here before this past year when the pandemic started. And I've tried my best, like I already don't touch my face a lot, but since we had to start wearing masks, I had to stop like pulling it down or like touching at my chin. And I had got even acne like around my chin, and that's never happened. I was like, what the? So I had to start, like, I had to revamp my whole skincare routine. I had to go in, and I had to go in more frequently than I used to, but it's just something you have to do to make sure you protect yourself and your skin, because wearing mask is not it. It's really not it. Oh, and then just when it comes to doctors and stuff, as far as the pandemic, now they don't even want to share pens, you guys. Like, that's like something on the more recent side. Is like a doctor had came in to do consent and stuff, and they're like, hey, now due to COVID, we're not sharing pens anymore. So, and I was like, oh wow. I mean, it makes sense, but I guess we're just trying to do everything that we can to eliminate passing germs around, and I think it's a great idea that we do as much as we can to protect ourselves and protect our patients. So I think everything's definitely important and justified in what we have to do. And those are just a few of the changes just as they came to my head. There are plenty more I'm sure that I missed, but those are just the main ones that affected me directly. And I hope that y'all found this, you know, informative a little bit. I know things are going to be ever changing, but if y'all have any questions, definitely drop them down below. And also too, you guys, I'm thinking another idea for a nursing related topic. I think I might do a video like 10 things I wish I knew before nursing school, or I either might do something like Ask a Nurse. And I work in pediatrics, but I have a lot of friends that I went to school with, and one of my really good friends, she's an adult med surg, like a renal unit. So I was gonna think, like, how would y'all feel about maybe me and her getting together and y'all just like asking us a list of questions, kind of getting two different perspectives on different things like that, and me and her could answer those for y'all. But as always, it's been fun. I love coming up here and sharing information with you guys. I hope to see you all in the next video. And if you haven't already, please take the time to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.